I don't know if you've ever heard, it's either astrology or Chinese medicine. They talk about between the ages of, I think it's 26 and 28, a lot of people go through a really big shift in their life. And it can be loads of things. And sometimes it can be negative or sometimes it can be positive. But like, I'm 28 now, and I definitely feel for me, and like, it's funny because I'd be into all that kind of stuff anyway, but I feel like for me, that has really happened to me.
Hi friend, I'm Lauren Jean. I'm a thinker, babbler, lover of stories and founder of Thinking of Me. Welcome to our first season of Women Only Speakers, where we talk all things empowerment, success, relationships, and above all else, self. I hope you might find a new thread of thought as you listen. Hello, and welcome to today's episode of Thinking of Me podcast, where we have Naomi Bell with us. She is the owner, founder, creator as such of What She Wore 24, and she's an old friend where we used to work together in New Look back in the day, and we have a mutual friend where my first experience was with Naomi, but we'll get to that as well. And yeah, I'm excited to chat all things kind of fashion, life in general, and I'll let Naomi maybe introduce more of herself.
Yeah, perfect. So thanks so much for having me on, Lauren. I'm absolutely delighted to be on your podcast. So I suppose, as you've already said, my name is Naomi. I'm 28. I work with adults with an intellectual disability in day service. So I've been working in that area for about almost 4 years now, I'd say. And I suppose before that, I worked in retail for years. I worked in New Look with yourself. And yeah, so I suppose in terms of working in New Look and everything, like, my love of fashion was probably always there before that. But I do definitely think my years of working in like a fashion clothing store really, I suppose, set it in stone for me. I kind of realised then how much I actually really loved it. And I loved my time working in retail actually as well. It was just different circumstances, I suppose, at the time, and lockdown and everything like that I ended up changing career. But yeah, so I suppose that's a little bit about me.
That's it. And for anyone listening, for friends, particularly round home, around Mullingar direction, that would know you and maybe know you either from the shop or just as a friend, it's safe to say that fashion is just very much part of your life.
Yeah.
And I think it was about 12 when we were at Alana's confirmation, and that would have been when she was living in town, and she'd kill me for maybe even mentioning her, so we won't chat too much someone else's story. But yeah, I know she definitely would have admired you from that side of things as well, of kind of being a bit glam, and Alana to me was always the glam friend.
Yeah.
I'm not the glam friend. I like to keep things simple. So yeah, it's interesting to hear like where the COVID like had such an impact for everybody, like transitions with work and everything else. But it's great to see that you found a way to hold on to that and bring that back as a part of yourself with What She Wore. How are you finding that? Are you in balancing day work and this and everything?
Yeah, I suppose that is hard. Like, I work Monday to Friday, so it can be hard. Like, I try to get bits done in the evenings. I probably do most of my bits at the weekend if I can. So yeah, it is hard to balance it, I suppose, as well. But I suppose it's just about keeping on top of it. And in a way, I'm lucky that in my job, we don't have a uniform or anything, so I just wear kind of whatever. Like, there's no real dress code. Like, obviously you have to be appropriate, but that kind of helps me with content, because then I tend to do an outfit of the day every day, so at least I'm getting some post up daily. But again, like, I suppose I didn't realize how much work is actually involved in social media, and like, I mean, I'm very new to it all, you know, I'm still only getting the hang of things, but yeah, there's a lot to be said for it, you know. So it's just about making the time, maybe not just making the time to do it. And it doesn't even feel like that to me, because I have to say I've been really, really loving it. And it was like, for as long as I can remember, once Instagram, I suppose, became a thing, and you were seeing more kind of every day people sharing things about their lives. And I always wanted to set up one for kind of mainly fashion. And I suppose back when I was
Sure.
in Maynooth in college, it came into my head then, and I was like, oh, I might set it up. But I was doing my degree at the time, and I didn't have much spare time like that. I was working in ULOC at the weekends, and I thought, when I finish college, I'm going to put the page up. And of course, I don't know how many years rolled by, and it never happened. And just back in August, I was on holidays from work actually, and I had been kind of thinking of it again in the previous months, and just one day I just decided to do it. So yeah.
I love that. And it all comes like a single decision can change your life.
Yeah,
And
yeah, definitely. And when I look back now, I probably don't know, not about being ready for it, but I don't know what I've given it as much or what I have enjoyed it as much. Like that, a bit like what you said, just sometimes things happen at the right time. And yeah, I just think it did, it kind of happened at the right time, I suppose. Yeah.
no, for sure. And what you say there, with balance and that there's the whole movement of mindset that it's not about balance, it's about integrating it. And I know I find where things are a hobby give me a whole different energy.
Yeah.
People would say to me a lot, and you're doing this, that, and the other, and the whole answer, how are you balancing doing a play on top of this? And I'm like, no, it's actually coming from a different place. It's not the same energy as like work. Now, I'm really grateful for my last 6 months in being able to like marry mission and work and all of that together. But it can be a lot when there's that social media pressure in a way. And I know we don't intend to put pressure on people necessarily, but you're very consciously aware that, oh God, someone is waiting for me to post.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's in our head. And then sometimes it is the case where it's kind of like, oh God, have they just fallen off the face of the earth or that? And that's something that would always kind of stress me out in the past. And I'm finding all the new ways in how to integrate that myself too.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's cool to hear you say that like, the outfit of the day is kind of your grounding way to integrate and balance like that kind of content creation, that kind of sharing of the message and enjoying it as well, while getting to go to work.
Yeah, exactly.
How has that maybe, how is that like, what's the response been like with family, friends, social media, in work?
I have to say, people have been so supportive. Like my family, like I don't like, people had often said to me previous, oh, you should set up a page. People had said that to me before. So I feel like before it even came into fruition, it was something that people were supportive about as such. But it's funny, like even in work, I never I never said to anyone I set up a page like in work, that sort of a way. Kind of my friends and my family knew. And then people in work started to say to me, oh my God, did I see you like on Instagram or TikTok? And I was nearly embarrassed at the beginning, and I don't know why. But I suppose it's like you're one person in work, and then it's like, oh my God, like they're seeing me in my house, and I don't know what it was. But yeah, I found that really strange, and I don't know why. But no, people have been really, really supportive. And even apart from friends and family, people that I don't even know, like there's names now on TikTok and my Instagram, of certain girls that might like loads of things I put up and I've never met them. So it's been really nice.
Yeah.
I've had very, very little negativity. So I'm definitely have been lucky in that sense, because I know it can kind of go one way or the other,
Yeah, and I think where, we've chatted about this across this season with different friends on, and for friends listening, it's the kind of thing where like when you're sharing anything of yourself, whether it's on social media or further afield in, opening up your diary or whatever it might be to the world. And here's what I'm wearing. Here's the background of my house. This is my life. This is my family. This is my day to day. Like it is very vulnerable. And to know that in like a country's place, I know you're from town yourself originally, or outside town, the town direction anyway, Naomi, and you're further out my original home way now. you can get very seen, and Ireland,
Mm,
you know, for anyone over the water that's listening, Ireland, people don't get just how small
yeah.
Ireland really is when it
Yeah.
comes to that kind of thing. And to be doing something different, it's kind of, as you say, it can go one way or the other sometimes.
Mm.
And yeah, I suppose, have you noticed, just even when we're on that, have you noticed like any change yourself from, I don't know, different places of work or different like geography now for you? Or has it just all kind of shifted and adapted in a natural way over the last couple of years?
So sorry, what do you mean by that, Lauren?
Sorry, I suppose like when we last would have been connected, as you say, like was in retail days, and there's been
Yes.
so much change from a work side of things, from like that sharing opening now with social media. I know you're in a new relationship, and as I say, then just geography of, and
Yeah.
it's not far, like it's 20 minutes down the road, but like 20
Yeah.
minutes is 20 minutes, and there's a whole couple of worlds in between.
Yeah. Yeah.
I find no matter where you are in Ireland, like 20 minutes down the road, as anyone knows, like GA parishes, all that kind of thing. There's a
Yeah.
lot of
Yeah.
change every half a mile. So yeah, I suppose, have you noticed any shift, I suppose, or has it all just kind of naturally flowed and rolled the last
Um,
while?
yeah, I suppose I feel like everything has just kind of naturally flowed, to be honest.
Yeah.
Um, but I suppose there has been lots of change in my life in the past, like even since we would have worked together.
Yeah.
So like obviously I changed jobs, like I said. I moved, like I never lived anywhere, only at home, until I moved, you know, where I'm living now. When I was in college, I commuted up and down. So that was even a big change for me. Um, and then I'm in a new relationship, and yeah, so there's been lots of changes, really, really positive changes. Like I feel like a different person from the girl that I was when I worked with you and you look. Hugely different. Like I don't even know how to explain it. I feel maybe in the last 4-ish years, 4 to 5 years, I've really kind of I suppose seen my own value and worth. I would have always struggled with that before, and would have always looked for outside validation and things like that, and would have always been a huge people pleaser.
Mhm.
Whereas I just feel like I've done a whole 360 in that sense. I'm kind of much more, I don't think assertive is the right word, but I'm just much
Mhm.
more in myself, and I'm able to
Yeah.
speak up when needs be. And yeah, it's hard to put it into words. I'm probably not making sense really, but yeah, it's funny that you say that, because definitely there's been huge changes, but also, like I said, they kind of came naturally, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And that's good to hear, because
Yeah.
sometimes when there is a lot of change and in so many different areas, it can, if it's kind of blocky, as I kind of
Mm.
call it, or if, yeah, it doesn't feel like, whether it's our choice or not, if it doesn't feel like the right next step, if it's a side step or something, it can kind of
Yeah.
go the other direction. So that's great to know. And that's great to share that, that outside validation, like that would, I'm the people pleaser, you know, and I put my hand up
Mm.
and saying that I'm still learning how to like let that go, and I'm learning no for the
Yeah.
first time. Now I do believe in the
Yeah.
power of a yes, but I'm learning where some no's are very much needed. And I think we just, there's the two in hand, like we learn that as we grow up across our 20s and that too.
Mm.
But I also do think a lot of it is environment and where we are and who we're with.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Big time.
I I know I'm a different person from the days, like that was what, 2019,
Yeah, and around then.
18,
Yeah.
18,
Could have been
2018,
2018,
2018 and
actually.
2019.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually think it was. Yeah, this time of year over the Christmas season.
Yeah.
And whenever I'm in the one in up this direction, like whenever I'm up the one in Liffey Valley and the music's on, you know, I think of those days.
Yeah.
And kind of bopping around and kind of in my own little world and everything else. But as you say, the fashion is something that you thought of through college. What kind of shifted in you that brought that back of kind of going, yeah, no, this is something I wanted to do once upon a time, and this is who I was in college, and now this is who I am now, and I know this new layers of myself and kind of how to kind of say what I want, and I'm going to go for it. I suppose, yeah. Would you? Where was the shift, or that ultimately made that decision? Yeah, I'm doing it.
Yeah, so I suppose so my boyfriend's name is Connor, and he knew I had been thinking of it and was very supportive from the first time I mentioned it. And like I said, kind of during the summer and that, I'd been talking about it more and more. And it was funny because he ordered me a ring light off Amazon. And he was like, now you have to do it. Like, I'm after getting this. Now you have to. It's still like, it sounds so simple, but I don't know why it was like that just kind of clicked something in me. I was like, why am I not doing it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, as I said, like even the last few years, the way I feel like I've changed, I just feel like now I have the belief and the confidence that just to go ahead with it. Like even like I think everybody cares deep down what people think. And when I was setting up the page, I definitely did worry about that. And like you said, Ireland is so small and all that. And I was like, oh, people are going to say, oh, like, who does she think she is? All this. And then I was like, do you know what? Like, I honestly don't really care. Like, I feel like I'm at that stage in my life now where I'm like, I honestly don't care. Like, if you don't enjoy it, that's fine. You know what I mean? And I'm not really doing it for anyone else, which sounds silly when you set up something on social media, because obviously the whole point of social media is that you're connecting with other people. But genuinely, it was really for me, because I think it was like, it's that one thing I always wanted to do and never got around to doing it. And it's like anything in life, there's some things you always think you're going to do and you go and do it and then it doesn't work out. Like I know when I was in college, I done psychology. And you'll probably remember this, Lauren, because we had chats about this when we worked in ULOC. I always thought I wanted to be a psychotherapist. So when I finished college, I took, I don't know, a couple of years out. I was working in ULOC or whatever. And then I did decide to go back and do a master's, which was 4 years, but I only done 1 year of it. And like that, like it didn't work out for me at the time. I feel like it wasn't the right time in my life. It was just, I don't know if I was emotionally ready for it, but at the same time, I'm glad that I went and done it. And now I would never rule it out. Like, I feel like even if I was to go back and try to do that master's now, it would be completely different. And what I'm saying is, I suppose even though it didn't work out, I'm still glad I tried it. So I think even the time when I dropped out of the masters, when I decided I wasn't continuing, I think it changed something in me then as well. It was like, well, you're allowed to try things, and if they don't work out, they don't work out. So I think that has changed my mindset on everything else going forward. Like even in terms of relationships, when I think like when myself and Connor met in August and we were moved in together by the following, I think it was June. It was the June bank holiday we moved in. Yeah, so it was really, really quick. And like, I know it was quick. We both knew it was quick. And I suppose when I kind of started to tell, friends and family, oh, like we're moving in together, or when we were thinking of moving in together, I was kind of met with, oh God, like, you don't know each other that long. And it's not everyone, but there was some people. And I suppose my mindset was, well, like, if we don't, like, the best way to get to know someone really is to live with them. And I was like, we can go on for another 3 years dating each other and staying in each other's houses. But, like, really, what have you to lose? Like, because if it's not going to work out, it's not going to work out anyway. So, yeah, I feel like that time with the masters and dropping out of that and a couple of different things that happened in my life around that time just completely changed the way I think about things now. And I'm just willing to take them risks because I know I'll be okay, even if things don't work out.
No, 100%. And Naomi, I love that of well, what's the point in waiting if you know, and what's the point in going through something if you know it's not right at the same time, between the college there with the
Yeah.
masters and moving in with the relationship. I think
Mm.
as women we have such a strong intuition, and I think
Yeah.
we can fight against that for some reason, whether it was kind of told play things safe, depending on, as I say, maybe environment of whether it's rearing or workplace or other relationships, whatever it might be, sometimes where we cloud our own intuition to not listen and follow it. And that's where I know I can definitely put my hand up and say I have ended up being very unhappy. Like there's a couple of situations in life, like big situations, where if I had just been honest with myself in that moment, I would have known what was right or what was wrong, but I didn't trust listening to it. And I think there's nothing greater than, like, I love that. I love like when you meet someone and you follow through with what makes sense, because as you say, if it's going to work, it's going to work, and if you trust yourself enough to know that it is working, and feel secure enough to know that you can make a new decision later, and that's strength in my opinion.
But it's
By
funny you
definition, I
say
think.
there, like even about intuition, because I think sometimes when you're a people pleaser, and like you said you would be, and I would have been, and probably still am in ways, but I think when you're a people pleaser, sometimes your intuition gets clouded by that because you don't actually think about what you want. It's always about what the other person wants, or how can I make them happy. It's not about, well, am I actually happy in this situation? You know what I mean? So it's funny, when that you've said that now, because it just kind of clicked with me there, because definitely in the past, in like you said there, in a couple of different situations in my life, I can think of times when maybe there was something saying to me, I don't know if things are right here, but just not having the courage to actually, listen to myself and put my own needs first, and probably didn't know what my own needs were either, so there's lots of layers to, everything, I suppose.
No, for definite. Where would you say you've found that learning, Naomi, of learning what it is you need and
Yeah,
kind of how to create those new boundaries?
I think probably with age and with different situations, I suppose in the last few years, like I feel the relationship I'm in now, and not to be handing it over to another person to say, oh, this person made me, but I do think, like you said, sometimes the environment and everything. I feel like my relationship now, I feel like, I hope Connor doesn't mind me saying this, and I'm sure he won't. But Connor would be very emotionally intelligent and a very emotionally open, and he's a great communicator. And I suppose I never experienced that before, really with anybody in my life. Like, I'm not even talking about romantic relationships. And I think when I started to see, like, it's okay to say what you feel, even if the other person doesn't agree, when it felt safe to do that, I think then like my core started to come out, because I think behind it all, it's like anyone, like I think I always had them traits, of being kind of, standing my ground, like people would have called me stubborn, but I don't think it's stubborn. Like I think when you even say strength, like I think I never realized how strong I was and am, and I think just the last few years I've got to know myself and what I want and what I need, and like that being in a very safe and kind of open communication relationship, I think it probably would have happened for me anyway. I don't know if you've ever heard, it's either astrology or Chinese medicine. They talk about between the ages of, I think it's 26 and 28, a lot of people go through a really big shift in their life. And it can be loads of things, and sometimes it can be negative or sometimes it can be positive. But like, I'm 28 now, and I definitely feel, for me, and like, it's funny because I'd be into all that kind of stuff anyway, but I feel like for me that really that has really happened to me. I suppose COVID kind of changed everyone in a way. You know, I changed career, and a long-term relationship ended. When that happens to anybody, you think it's the end of the world. And hindsight is a
Yeah.
great thing, because when I look back, it was the best thing, you know, not in a disrespectful way to anybody, but it was the best thing that ever happened to me, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just think a number of things happened in my life where I had no choice but to kind of think of me. And then through
Yeah.
that, I started to kind of come into myself, and, you know, yeah, like I said, just started to realize what I might want, and that it's okay to not agree with someone, or it's okay to just choose yourself, or just to say no, like you said. Because I would have struggled with that for years, like even in friendships. And yeah, so that was a bit long-winded, but
No, I think it was perfect because I resonate with everything you said. And as you say, like, if if you think of it, like, my whole life changed, and I'm not like exaggerating. My
yeah.
whole life changed, and how I viewed life and how I viewed the future and everything, when I did start asking myself that question: how can I think of me here?
Mm,
And I'd be into all that kind of thing as well, and that makes a lot of sense if it's between the ages of 26 and 28,
mm,
because that's when I got the idea for kind of my big mission, and I lost my mind a little bit
yeah.
in creating it, and it was great and all for with purpose. Um, in figuring things out, and there is such shifts in our 20s and that. And I'm
Yeah.
29 now, and I got a birthday card from a really good friend. She's been on the podcast as well. But for anyone listening, have you ever been told that your Saturn is returning? I got told that Saturn is returning apparently for me now, and so it's all going to like reground me and all that. And I
Yeah.
do. I'm into that kind of thing, and I wouldn't do it often. I'm looking at them here. I've had 3 tarot card readings in my life from
Right.
someone else doing it for me, and I think, oh my god, this all makes sense. And a friend, I actually bought a pack when I was with her this time a little over a year ago now, with a Slytherin friend over in Edinburgh. But yeah, I think with anything like that, it's in helping us make sense of
Mm,
things that are naturally happening,
yes. Yeah.
and do have an energy to them for sure and certain. And like, we are created by energy, and that's not very fair to say, that's a science thing, you know.
Mm,
And kind of coming in tune with, as you say, well, what's lining up for me and what isn't. And yeah, I think, Naomi, like, would you say even with fashion for you, so we kind of said at the start of this that um to me, you're all like, you've always been known as being someone who would have a great fashion sense as long as I've ever known you. And my granny is a woman who would have had all the reputation all through her youth and everything as having good fashion and that. And then I would wear the first thing that kind of fits. And a lot of that was kind of body image and that for me.
yeah.
It's like, okay, well, what's fit? And I'm going to have to only wear that because it's hiding the belly or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
I suppose, how has fashion maybe been a staple for you? Or would you say it's been a staple in that kind of like identity expression? Or,
Yeah.
yeah, in
I
people
think
pleasing
it
or not?
definitely has. And it's funny, like, even when you're saying that, and I think of it now, like, I think with me, and when I think of fashion, it was never like, I was always, and I still am, like, if I like something, I'll wear it, no matter who says to me, I don't like that on you. It doesn't. And it's always been like that for me, because it's so funny now when I'm actually saying that out loud. Do you know when you have like little insights? I just feel like I've got one there now. But because in so many areas of my life, I would like, another person's opinion would have always been the defining factor. Whereas maybe for
Yeah,
me, fashion was the only area that didn't really matter. You know, that it was
yeah,
just, if I like it, I'm wearing it. And like some things, um, you know, like some of my friends and even my sister would say to me, "Oh my God, I would never wear that, but it's like, it's lovely on you." And I, you know, I can be a little bit out there sometimes, or a little bit different with my
yeah.
fashion, and not always now, but yeah, I think that's maybe why fashion has been such a big thing for me, because it never mattered about anyone else. It was only about me, and I suppose it's a form of self-expression kind of as well, isn't it? Yeah, I think that's why it always
No,
stuck with me, and was something all through my life I was always, you know, passionate about, I suppose.
No, for sure. And I know that I have the opposite story.
Oh,
And I still feel the stress when I go into the changing rooms and trying on different stuff. And I know where that comes from, and it's with all the love. I'm not, there's no blame on anyone. It's not that kind of thing. But I know
yeah.
exactly where, like, I would have always had the opposite of dressing to please, I suppose. And it does, like, anything like that, I think has a lasting effect. Like, I
Yeah.
remember wearing a sweater vest. There's photos. Oh, sweet Jesus. I don't know if I've ever talked about this out loud, but this yellow sweater vest. And I had just started to develop it. And you know yourself, like, as
Yeah.
a gal who has gals growing and you're only a young gal,
Yeah.
and anything that kind of accentuates that. And like 11, I think it was 11, 10, 11, 12 is such a weird age. And
Yeah.
it
It's a horrible
does
age.
carry into, yeah, it does carry into like being a young woman in that then, and
Yeah.
kind of trying different things if you kind of have one of those negative experiences. So yeah, having like that thing that's yours for you to kind of say, no, I'm going to do this. And I think my thing, I'm again kind of realizing this just chatting, my thing was always, I'm okay with talking to people. I'm okay with kind of being seen from that side of things, like with the drama and the theatre.
Yeah.
Whereas someone else go, geez, I'm like,
Yeah.
don't ask me. And I have some friends that like won't come on here, and that's completely their choice, you know, because
Yeah.
they're like, no, I absolutely couldn't, you know. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it's just one where you find a comfort
Yeah. It
in,
is
and
funny.
then
But even when you
yeah.
say that there, like I can also relate to what you're saying. Like I do remember, because I would have struggled with body image as well, like hugely, huge, and that's something that's really changed for me. And now that I'm talking and I suppose thinking about it as well, I think that might also be a big reason why only in the last, since August, I've set up the page, because I think
Mhm.
I'm always a little bit conscious of if you're taking a picture, you can stand in a certain way to make it look good, but in a video it's different. And I think that
Yeah.
always maybe held me back from setting up, I suppose, the page a little bit. But I suppose what I'm also saying as well, I can relate to that feeling in the dressing room and all that. But for me, it was like I may not have felt good about myself in, maybe the way my face looked or even my body, but if I had a nice outfit on, it was like it masked
Yeah.
a little bit. So yeah, it's just interesting when you say
Mhm.
that as well. Because like you were dressing to
Mhm.
hide, whereas I was dressing to try and make something maybe interesting about me. It was like, well, if I don't have nice clothes on, there's nothing else good about me.
Mhm.
You know?
I hear you. And
Yeah.
it's funny how as women we need to find that thing that we can show and say, hey,
Yeah.
I'm worth being in the room, or this
Yeah.
is, why you should talk to me, or whatever it might be. I really do. And I'm not saying men don't, but
Mm,
I think there's so many different things, like
mm,
when it comes to like hair, makeup, clothes, the shoes you do or don't wear, the accessories you do
yeah.
or don't, carry. Again, I'm not saying men don't have that, and I know there's a lot of men. I'm actually a fun fact. Am I going to say this out loud on the podcast, listeners? Here I am. I've been talking to somebody, and I'm absolutely not going to share details, but it's been nice. The whole situation has been nice, but yeah, I would consider them to be more into their fashion than I am, and I'm like, this is weird, but and I'm not saying that in a bad way at all. So
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not, so what I mean is I get that men have like fashion problems, but I think
Yeah.
as a woman we have so many different areas that we're open to
Mm,
criticism with, that
yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I
What
think
would be your one thing that you'd say? Oh, sorry, I don't mean to cut across your train of thought,
no,
but what would be
no,
one
no,
thing you
no.
kind of say to start for someone who maybe is struggling with kind of style or that kind of expression versus hiding or
Uh,
whatever it might be?
I think hmm, I think it's about finding your own finding your own style sounds a bit cliche, but I think it is
Yeah.
about that. Like you have to find what you like, you know what I mean, and what you feel comfortable in, because if that isn't the foundation for starting off, your
Yeah.
clothes for
What's
me
yours?
are about
What's
making
your
you feel
staple?
good.
Yeah.
Um My staple. Uh,
I know you
Probably.
like a skirt. I'm always jealous. I see you in like those long skirts, and I'm
Oh
like, no,
yeah,
that
I
would just
love
show
them.
my pants.
No, not at all. You see, that's the thing with so many things like in fashion. So many people think that wouldn't suit me. You know, I've heard it, like my sister comes to mind straight away. Like she might see me wearing something and she'd say, "Oh my God, Naomi, I love that. I could never wear that." And I'd say, "Charlene, I'm telling you, it would be lovely. Try it on." And when she tried it on, it's like, "Oh, it's actually nice." So, like, straight away, I think people put themselves in a box and think, I can't wear this, I can't wear that. So, again, I suppose another thing is try the thing that you like, try it on. And the worst thing is going to be that it doesn't look nice or you don't like it. But I suppose in
Yeah.
terms of a staple piece, um, for the summer, definitely like a long, probably floral kind of dress. I just think something like that you can get so much wear out of. You can wear it with runners, you can wear it with a pair of heels on a night out or sandals, a denim jacket over it. And then for winter, um, I would probably say a really nice staple jacket, actually, because
Okay.
yeah, I just feel like, you know, you're obviously going to be, we're in Ireland, like, you know, you're going to be wearing your coat all winter long. If you have a really nice, dressy staple jacket, I think, yeah, it'll just dress up any outfit. And I suppose maybe a nice black dress as well. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't beat a black
Yeah,
dress. I
you
started wearing
can't.
black last year, and it
Yeah,
just
you really
became
can't.
like the handiest of the whole lot.
Yeah, and a red lip actually. I know it's not really fashion, but I always just feel,
Yeah,
especially with
it all
black,
has to come together.
like yeah, a red lip just instantly dresses everything up. It was funny on Saturday evening, it was my friend's birthday. And I was away with work in Galway all day Saturday, and I wasn't home until about 20 to 8, and we were meeting for a meal
Mhm.
at 8:30. So I didn't have much time to, you know, do a bit of a turnaround. And I literally
Sure.
threw on a long black dress, black tights, boots, and fixed up my makeup and put on a red lip, and I was like a different person. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I love that feeling. I love like as soon as the heels are on or whatever it is, or the opposite, you get to take the clothes off and put on the cozies.
Yeah.
I I look at my sister. It's funny you mention yours. I look at my, and she'll kill me. I've mentioned her a couple of times on this season, but I look up to her.
Yeah.
She's younger, and I look up to her always because I go to school. If I went to school without the homework, I'd die. And if Caitlin went to school without the eyebrows, she'd die. So she's always like just kind of held her own, and kind of some of the cozy staples I would always kind of consider her style. So whenever I see someone, I go, that's a real Caitlin kind of an outfit,
Yeah.
you know. And then I think as people, as you say, like as a thing of self-expression, there's definitely some things with clothes where it's the kind of thing where you'd associate with someone. So like long nails, I think of like my aunt and
Yeah.
leopard print, you know, and things like that. And some stuff where it's like, oh my God, am I actually trying this on? You really are trying on another identity nearly in a
Yeah.
way,
Yeah.
I think. And that's where the resistance, I think maybe comes from. But
Yeah.
yeah, I love the thought. Would you say, and just to like to mention it in case we do have any men listening, like what would you have ever noticed as like kind of being a key difference in accepting a style, or have you ever worked with men like
Um,
kind of
no,
seeing
I
that kind
suppose
of
no, not really, to be honest. But I do think the big difference with men and men's fashion is I just feel like men don't put the same pressure on themselves. You know, like
yeah
it's like, yeah, I'm just thinking of myself. Like if I was going out now on a Saturday night and if I knew about it in advance, you know, come Tuesday or Wednesday, like I'm thinking in my head, "Oh, what will I wear?" Whereas I think a man will
yeah
go into the wardrobe. Like I see it with Connor. He'll go into
yeah
his wardrobe,
100%.
pull out a shirt, and like Connor is into his fashion as well, and but he'd pull out a shirt and jeans and you know, puts it on and it looks great. And I just think that's it. They don't put the pressure. And I also think men are really good with staple pieces. You know what I mean? Like they'll always have a few nice shirts and a few nice jumpers, you know, and one or two good pairs of jeans. And I think that's the difference. They're more minimalistic, like, whereas I think women overwhelm themselves sometimes. And like I definitely do it, because if you were to look into my wardrobe now, you'd you'd do well now to be able to see much. But yeah, so I think that's probably the big difference. But I've never
for
really,
sure.
I've never worked with men in terms of fashion, really. I suppose even when I think
No,
of
I think
like we didn't have menswear in the store that we would have worked in.
that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
I think you hit the nail on the head though, because it does come down to staples and trying to come up with a new outfit every single time, every single event. And like, as a home economist background and that myself, like the sustainable impact with fashion around the world, and you know, we don't even need to go there too much, but I see friends who wear their mom's clothes, and one friend in particular, like, you just know it's one of her mom's jumpers, because you just know there's a certain style to it, and it's really cute, and I love when you do see her with something kind of newer, some of those the same of her mom's, and that kind of pass down kind of an aspect, and being able to like mix and match stuff. That's where I kind of struggle sometimes to kind of go, okay, this is a staple, but it can also work with something else. And as you say, I think it's the exploration of trying things on. And I would definitely say that's the younger version of me, of like, Lauren, just give it a go and don't put the pressure on as much. So I really hear you there with that. Naomi, I'm curious, we're very similar and we're very different in some of those ways. I'm curious as to what your stress management plan is like, and definitely in like what we chatted today. I kind of want to ask, what would you say maybe has changed how you deal with some of those same, because I'm hearing a lot of the same stresses from yesteryear and to now. And maybe how have you dealt with them? Is that different, or what does it look like to you to kind of manage your stress?
For me, in the last I would probably say 6 months, I've really focused on stress management. And it kind of, not go into it too much because it's a story in itself, but I would have struggled really bad with irritable bowel syndrome. And I would have always struggled on and off with my tummy as a child and stuff like that. But I suppose in the last 12 months, things had gotten really bad, and I'd been back and forth to doctors and specialists and scans and everything. And, you know, all of the doctors kept saying to me about stress. And I was just, like, my mind, I was like, you know, I'm not stressed. Like, I mean, I like, everyone has some level of stress, of course, but I was like, no, I'm not really that stressed. Like, I don't feel like I am. And I think the stress of being unwell was also adding on top of that. But anyway, I suppose it just made me think, kind of, right, maybe there is something to this whole stress thing. Like, I don't know if you know anything about IBS, or probably actually a lot of your listeners will, because it's a huge issue with lots of women. It's very common. But one of the biggest triggers with IBS is stress. And it's kind of now, I suppose, in the last couple of years, it's because my doctor was actually telling me this about 2 months ago, and it was just, he explained it in such a good way that basically now IBS is classified as a disorder between the gut and the brain. So if you're stressed about something, like, there's a nerve that goes from your brain to your gut, and if you're stressed about something, your gut will overreact to just normal things, like, I don't know, eating your dinner or whatever. So without going down the whole road about that, when he explained it to me like that, I kind of thought, right, maybe there is something to this. So yeah, in the last, I suppose, 6 months, I've really tried to manage my stress, and in doing that, I've realized how stressed I actually was. And I think it was like a chronic low level stress. It was like I was always on the go. Go to work, you know, I go to the gym before work, go to work, come home from work, make the dinner, go for a walk, come back from the walk, get a shower, sort out my clothes, and everything was just so. And like, I have the tendency as a person to be like that. I can be very rigid about things. and everything was just so, and then there was stuff going on at work and stuff. There was a lot of stuff going on. And when I look back, I'm like, God, how did I not realize I was stressed? So anyway, to cut a long story short, I suppose I've gotten really into yoga in the past probably year. And I've really, really been enjoying that. And it would never have been something that I would have thought, I was going to say that I would have thought I've been good at, but that's not even what I mean. I never would have thought it would have been something for me, because I was never like, even when I think of, you know, younger me, or even now, like I was never one to play sports or anything. Not that yoga is a sport, but yeah, I just would have never thought it would have been something for me. But yeah, I've really, really been enjoying that. And then meditation, I've been like, I'm talking like 5 minutes, put a meditation
Yeah.
on YouTube, and like I've heard it so many times, you know, like the benefits of it and how much of a, I suppose, effect it can have, a domino effect on everything. But it really is true. Like I have found since I started doing that in the past couple of months, that I'm just more like, right, it's okay, Naomi. You know, you'll get it done.
Yeah.
Not everything has to be a rush. And even earlier, when you were talking about energies and stuff, and how we're all, you know, everything in life is an energy, and we're all made up of energy. Um, it just made me think as well, because in the last few months, I don't know if you've ever heard of Reiki. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so it's a form of energy healing. So I've gotten a couple of sessions of Reiki as well, and it's just like these things have kind of come on my path. Like I never went looking for, like a lady that I would have known very kind of briefly, like I wouldn't have known her very well, sent me a message that she was part of a fundraiser, and for a young girl who was sick, and she was going to be there that day doing Reiki. And just last minute, I decided to go. So I had Reiki with that lady, and then, you know, a few weeks later, they do like, I'll actually just say it, they're the Social Holistic Sanctuary is their name, for anyone who's
Okay.
on Instagram, and they do like affordable, I suppose, holistic treatments. They normally do it the last Sunday of every month, and you pay €20 and you go in and you have a treatment. Basically, they want to make it accessible to everyone. So then I started doing that over the last couple of months. So I had Reiki, and then I had kinesiology, which I won't go into too much details because I don't know much about it, but again, it's like another form of energy healing. So yeah, just then things, I suppose, in the last few months, and even something as simple as breathing, like taking the time to actually take a few breaths, is just, it's so underrated. It's unbelievable.
No, for sure. I have that written literally right behind where we're set up now. You know, I will remember to breathe. You know, and I love that, Naomi, because like where focus goes, energy flows. And when we put a focus into managing something like stress, it has to balance us back out. And I'm sorry to hear that, like, it was an illness that caused you to really put that back in line. But things happen that do kind of wake us up sometimes in different ways. And I know, like, it's if I'm not actively trying to find a way to deal with it, things do start to, as you say, there's so much, I think, and finding those kind of slowdowns. But I love that. I really love that.
And it is funny, like, I suppose it was like, it was IBS that I suppose kind of brought me down, that because for a couple of months, Lauren, I didn't know what it was, you know. Now, like, I had been diagnosed with IBS years previous, and like it would have come and went. Like I could be bad for a day or two and I'd go months then without having a flare up or whatever. But like, I'd say in the past 12 months, I've had some of the darkest days, because I really was thinking, am I going to feel like this forever? Like, it was daily symptoms. I was getting no real answers. And with IBS, there's not a huge amount of treatment either. But the positive of all that is I feel like it has really made me slow down. And I like, I'm doing really well now. Like, I completely different. Like, it was a daily occurrence at one stage, I suppose, this time last year, and it's well under control now. But yeah, the positive of that is it did really make me stop and think, right, Naomi, there is something not right here. Because you know,
Yeah.
not saying, but like with a lot of illnesses, like your body is telling you, your body is trying to tell you there's something not right. And maybe
Yeah.
for so many years I didn't listen. And it took that really intense few months of very bad symptoms to really think, right, you know, something has to change here. And like at the doctors, I suppose I was being told there was nothing medically wrong. But like I said,
Yeah.
the big key part that they were all talking about was stress. So it maybe
Yeah.
just started to steer me in the right direction as well. So
And I think that is the beautiful way of like nearly summing up everything today that we've like, because when you listen to your style, you listen to your body, you listen to your intuition, you know,
yeah,
and for our friends listening, like learning to listen is a habit, I find. And whether that is, as you say, listening to what my body needs or is not responding to or has to kind of start to manage in a new way,
yeah,
as well as listening to what you like, not what someone else likes, you know, whether it's style or your work and your, you know, I think, yeah, I love
yeah,
that because it is a process and it's
yeah,
not something we're always taught or just automatically know. So
definitely.
yeah, that's amazing, Naomi, and thank you for being so open with everything.
No, thank
Would
you.
you? Not at all. I know you've been skyrocketing in getting kind of public word out there. Who were you on with recently?
Yeah, so the Irish Sun,
The Sun. That's right. I couldn't
yeah,
couldn't think there.
so yeah, I was so delighted with that. It was completely unexpected. They just reached out to me on my Instagram. It was like a Sunday evening. I was after being away for the weekend, and actually I thought it was a scam at the beginning. I was like, this isn't you know, real or whatever. So yeah,
Yeah,
no, I was absolutely delighted with that. So it's funny though, even
that's
like,
it.
you know, when you reached out to me to come on the podcast, I feel like sometimes when you're on the right path, these things start
Yeah.
to kind of happen, you know. And it's like even
Yeah.
when I was saying a minute ago about the yoga and the Reiki and the mindfulness, it just keeps coming up for me now, and I'm seeing, you know, ads about things, and I'm feeling drawn to things, and I just feel like with everything, and I suppose like you said, this kind of sums it up. I just feel like when you're on the right path, things will
Yeah.
feel, I'm not maybe easiest in the word, but things will flow somewhat. Whereas when I think of my life, maybe a couple of years previous, things weren't flowing, and my I knew it,
Yeah.
you know, but I didn't know how to express it or how to change it or whatever. But yeah, so it's funny when you think of it. Yeah.
No, I love that, Naomi, because as you say, when we, if there's somewhere we're meant to go and we want
Mm,
to go and it all lines up, it like the beauty is, beauty's not even the right word, but the life of it is as you say, it just flows and it naturally follows. And it sounds like what she wore 24 is very much so flowing in the right direction, and you with it. And it's so great to know how the flow has happened over the last couple of years for you, and I'm really excited to see where you flow now and where what you wore flows next, because it's definitely in the right direction. And thank you so much for coming on and being here. For our friends listening, like that, What She Wore 24 is on Instagram and TikTok, and you can follow Naomi with all her fashion style and advice there. And my friend, I hope we'll catch up a lot sooner than 4 years in between, but seeing your growth has been so lovely, and thank you so much, as I say, for coming on. Thanks, friend, for listening to the Thinking of Me podcast. I hope you found something within our story today that lands for you. You can keep up with us on Thinking of Me blog, Thinking of Me coaching, and Lauren Jean on socials. Go to thinkingofmecoaching.com/checklist for your checklist for self-fulfillment. Until our next chat, talk soon, my friend.